Jehovah's Witnesses are right that there is no rapture, that there is no doctrine of hellfire, and that there is no Trinity. The point is that this dude's been correct about everything so far, and yet one more thing he's about to be correct about: the rapture. Listen to this.
The rapture is horrible, awful, terrible, unbiblical theology. It was more or less created by this guy named John Nelson Darby in the 19th century, and it was popularized in the United States by the Scofield Reference Bible.
Yeah, Scofield Reference Bible's terrible. If you haven't heard of it, it's extremely popular. It was for a long, long time. I don't think it is anymore. Anyway, I guess it kind of depends on what interpretation you have of the rapture. Let me tell you the Bible's actual position on the rapture, what the Bible meant when it talked about any kind of rapture or whatever. There's a verse in the book of, I think, maybe 1 Thessalonians or 2 Thessalonians, I don't remember which. The congregation of Thessalonica was getting a little antsy about the fact that Jesus had not come back to fulfill his role as the Son of Man yet, and people were dying off. They thought that they were going to witness Jesus' arrival, and that they were going to see him become the king of the kingdom of God and, all that other junk. So Paul, writing to that congregation, says, those who have died will come up out of their graves and meet Jesus halfway from heaven and escort him back down to the ground. They'll have a special role of escorting Jesus back to earth because they died first. That's what that verse is saying. And it's been bastardized into this absolutely absurd, twisted doctrine where people are going to be like raptured instantly and their clothes are going to be left on the ground and they're all going to be in heaven and they're going to watch as a 7-year war. Blah, 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 blah. That's not what the Bible said at all. It's just a complete fabrication. Anyway, listen what this pastor says about it.
And it was popularized in the United States by the Scofield Reference Bible. So if you have one of those, you can go ahead and toss that right on out.
Yeah, it's garbage. Seriously. Scofield Reference Bible, it's awful.
For most of Christian history, no one had even heard of the rapture because the idea hadn't been invented yet. So many Christians misunderstand the book of Revelation. It's not about predicting some future apocalypse. That's why no one's been able to accurately do that.
That's correct.
It was written by this guy named John, who was
John of Patmos,
exiled on the island of Patmos, and he looked around and he felt like the world was literally falling apart in front of him. The Romans were persecuting fellow Jesus followers, and that's what he was writing about. Now, he couldn't outright name Rome because Rome didn't really like stuff like that.
He's absolutely correct. I love that he's correct about this. The book of Revelation wasn't about some future thing. Okay, there was a genre of writing at the time called apocalyptic genre writing, like science fiction genre or romance or whatever, fantasy or whatever. There was apocalyptic genre, and it was a genre that existed outside of the Bible. There are apocalyptic writings that are extra biblical too. The apocalyptic genre always followed the same style of writing, okay? Somebody would witness some crazy shit. Someone's standing by a river with a flaming sword and glowing bright, with God's light or whatever, and they don't understand what they just witnessed. It makes no sense. Of course, it's not supposed to. The person writing the book is intentionally saying nonsensical things. And then I saw a ram appear, and the ram chased the beast that had 7 heads and blah, blah, blah. It didn't make sense intentionally. And then God sends in an angel, or a messenger. That's what the word means, actually. God sends a messenger to explain what that apocalypse meant, that apocalyptic vision. All of the apocalyptic visions that take place in the Bible, to my knowledge, are explained by an angel. So any additional explanation on top of them is the church or pastors or whatever adding their own interpretations. It's already been interpreted. God already sent an angel to do it. You have no place to add to what this angel had to say. Like Jehovah's Witnesses interpret more into the book of Daniel than what is there. An angel already did it. Anyway, hang on. Anyway, the point is that the book of Revelation was written by John of Patmos, and it was intended for that time and place. Now, John obscured who he was talking about. He made it a little riddle to figure out that it was about Rome. People knew, for people from that era, they knew that it was about Rome, but he didn't come out and name Rome directly. To my knowledge, to my knowledge, scholars don't actually think that John obscured who he was talking about, Rome, out of fear that Rome would come after him, though. The way that the woke pastor's saying here. I don't think that that was the case. I think he just did it as, you know, a special message to his group. We know that it was about Rome beyond a shadow of a doubt because it talks about the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns and the and the woman, the harlot, riding on the back of the beast or whatever. The 7 heads thing is a dead giveaway. Rome was the city on 7 hills. Anytime there's an apocalypse like Revelation or like you find in Daniel or Isaiah or Ezekiel or whatever, the word 10 always means a lot of something. It doesn't actually mean 10, it means a lot. And to put the final nail in the coffin for it being Rome, the Roman emperor was Nero at the time, and he was terribly persecuting Christians, actually. There's this little practice called gematria, and it's where you take numbers and you correspond them to letters in the Hebrew alphabet. So A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, so on and so forth. When you get to 10, there are only, I think, 24 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, or there were at the time, I don't remember. Anyway, when you get to 10, the 10th letter is worth 10, the 11th letter is worth 20, the 12th letter is worth 30, and you keep going like that. Importantly, the letter N is worth 50. Nero, Emperor Nero, as a name in Hebrew, adds up to, its gematria is 616. We found an extra manuscript from Revelation that says the number of the beast is 616 rather than 666. So what's with the extra 6? Why is it 666 instead of 616? Because Emperor Nero's real name was Emperor Neron with an N on the end. You remember? Worth 50 points. 616 to 666. It was a gematria.